I'm going to share a little bit about myself before we get started. As I said, my name is Mara Walsh. I'm in the United States and specifically in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, which is between Philadelphia and New York. Don't let the name Girl Travel Tours fool you. We welcome everyone on our tours, not just girls. The name comes from the beginning of my travel expeditions, which I started leading physical tours with EF Tours as a Girl Scout leader. But now I lead tours with all ages. I use EF Go Ahead Tours and many other tour operators. But please, know that we are not all physically traveling right now, so that led me to virtual tours. There's a couple of reasons why I started these virtual tours way back in May of 2020. I really wanted to support the tour director community during this time of travel restrictions where they have not been able to work or make money. I really wanted to keep the excitement of travel alive for my travel group and extend that opportunity to those of you who have learned about us through friends, family, social media, and other means. We've done more than 50 tours since COVID struck. If you'd like to access any of the recordings, they are on my website and my YouTube channel, as well as Facebook. And you could just look for girltraveltours.com or Girl Travel Tours on YouTube or Facebook, and you'll find the recordings. And we have several more tours planned for this coming year. I'm going to go over those right now with you, and I'm going to share a visual so that you can read them as well as me reading them to you. We're going to go to Easter Island next week. We're going to do the Great Barrier Reef in Queensland. Costa Rica is coming up, Sicily, northern Spain, which was rescheduled from last week. Bethlehem is right around Christmas time, and we're going to do a Christmas markets tour of Europe during the Christmas season. Check back as we add new destinations to our list for 2022. As long as you're interested in viewing these virtual tour presentations, we will continue to provide them for you. I know many of you found our virtual tours on Facebook, so I do want to give a shout out. There are a lot of scammers on Facebook who are trying to get you to pay to access these tours. Please don't pay for the links to access them. My tours are free to attend. It is up to you to tip the tour director at your discretion. You can always safely access our events through my website, girltraveltours.com, and you can view them on Facebook and on YouTube. Okay. I want to review a few ways that you can interact with us during this event. Feel free to ask questions about the tour director, or the travel program in the Q&A, and we will go over those questions after the event live here on the tour. You can also chat me, and I'll do my best to answer those questions during the presentation. And you can also put a post on Facebook, and I'll do my best to answer those. Also, we have an interactive poll that we can go through and hopefully get an understanding of where your experience is with this region. Today's tour and all of our tours are scheduled for 90 minutes plus the Q&A. So I hope you're ready with a snack or a drink in hand and enjoy this tour. A tour would not be complete without a fantastic tour guide. And we're lucky today to have Lynette with us all the way from Zimbabwe. I'll share with you via chat and the Q&A how you can tip the tour guide. If the presentation is the experience that you appreciate, I would appreciate you leaving a tip for the guide. All the tips go directly to the guide once collected, minus the Zoom operating expenses. And if you're ready, Lynette, you can join me, unmute yourself, and I will hand over the event to you, and you can take the controls and share your screen. Welcome, Lynette. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. How are you? Thank you, Mara. I'm very happy to be here and joining everyone presenting on this tour of the Victoria Falls. So I am just going to go ahead and share my screen so that everybody can see, and we will have a good time together. So this, just give me 1 second to get it up. Yes. So this is the tour of the Victoria Falls, and firstly, before we get into the Victoria Falls, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Lynette, and I am a tour guide here in Zimbabwe. People call me Vasco, aka Vasco, because of my long travel history. I have traveled to 17 countries, and I was the first traveler in my family, or the first person to leave the continent. I studied in South Africa, and after I studied in South Africa, I had a year exchange in the United States. Then I also had several travels in Europe. And during these travels, this is when I got a lot of questions about my identity. People were very keen to know where Zimbabwe is. People were very keen to know why I was traveling. And thus I decided to start a tour company. So I became a tour guide in 2016, and in 2020, I registered my tour company called Adventure Horizons, which operates in Zimbabwe and South Africa. I will also share a bit of my pictures with you here. I'm the one obviously in the front. We do a lot of adventure tourism and share authentic experiences. So today, as you join me, I'd like to, along the way, share my story as well, and just give you more information on the Victoria Falls and how you can best plan your trip if you plan to go to the Victoria Falls, or what to expect, because a lot of people don't really know. This is like the path less traveled. People don't know a lot about Zimbabwe. So basically in Zimbabwe, there are over 15 million people, and we are neighboring countries to Zambia, South Africa, Botswana, and Malawi. We have 16 official languages, English being one of the languages that we speak here. So if you do come to Zimbabwe, be happy that you'll be able to communicate with people, because we have one of the highest literacy rates in Southern Africa. So if you speak English, then it's going to be very easy for you to go by. The other thing is, the other official language that we have is Shona and Ndebele. In the region that I'm presenting on today, the Victoria Falls, most people speak Ndebele. So as a traveler, if you are coming here, I recommend that you learn a few words like greetings and how to say thank you, because this helps the people to warm up to you in any place that you're traveling. When they say that if you speak to a person in their language, you speak to their heart, but if you speak to them in your language, you speak to their head. So I always recommend that travelers do learn at least a couple words like greetings and thank you. This will help you get by very easily. Regardless, the Zimbabwean people are very friendly, they're polite, and the crime rate is very low. Also, particularly in Victoria Falls, which is a tourist resort. I did mention that we love dancing. I would like to share with you a family dance video, and you shall see throughout the course of this tour, there will be a lot of dancing videos by professional dancers, of course, and family entertainment. I guess this is what you should expect. So I am going to play this. So that is just a dance video that I shared of me and my cousin dancing at home. And also this is generally the culture in the country. We have a lot of dance in the country. Moving on to the particular area we are focusing on, the Victoria Falls. This was named after Queen Victoria, but it has other names which include Mosi-oa-Tunya, or Shongwe, which means the place of the rainbow. So when you're inside the actual falls, you will see that there's always a rainbow all throughout the day and all throughout the year. So, and this can be even double rainbow or even 7 rainbows at a time. That is why they had named it Shongwe. But the official name, of course, is the Victoria Falls. And if you are going to be booking a flight or holiday resort, if you would say Mosi-oa-Tunya, which is the name given by the Lozi people, remember I said that there are about 16 languages, and Lozi is one of the languages, and there's also Tonga, but Victoria Falls is the name that it goes by. Victoria Falls itself is actually a game reserve, and a city was built inside a game reserve. So a lot of people are a bit confused sometimes when they hear Victoria Falls. They just want to see the falls. But Victoria Falls, remember, is also a game park, and it is also a city. So there are many things that you can anticipate within the Victoria Falls. That includes seeing the falls, that includes meeting the people, experiencing the culture, that also includes seeing the animals as it is in a game park. So moving along, I just have a picture here that shows something about the falls. This is the largest frame that you can see there of the majestic Victoria Falls. It shows you the sheer force of the falls and the velocity that it falls at. It's really a sight to behold. And if you would travel to Southern Africa, this includes South Africa, Zambia, Malawi, and you don't come to Victoria Falls, then you're missing out on this, because as you may know, Victoria Falls is one of the world's 7 wonders and is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So what is the history of the Victoria Falls? The Victoria Falls was named Victoria Falls in 1855 when it was discovered by Scottish missionary by the name David Livingstone, who you see in the picture. So there is a lot of controversy about this. Although David Livingstone is the first European to have discovered the Victoria Falls, he was taken to the Victoria Falls by the Africans who already knew about the Victoria Falls. And of course, there were also some Arabs who had also discovered the Victoria Falls. But regardless, David Livingstone is the one that helped it to become a tourist resort and destination by pushing it forward to the international community. So within the Victoria Falls, inside the falls, there is also a statue of David Livingstone. From here, you can see the aerial view of the Victoria Falls. The Victoria Falls are at the border of Zimbabwe and Zambia. So they actually form the border of Zimbabwe and Zambia. So you have 2 options. You can either visit Zambia, or you can visit Zimbabwe, or you can visit both countries through what we call a CASA visa. A CASA visa allows you to go between the 2 countries without paying for another visa. And I highly recommend this because you will see the falls from different angles. There's also a controversy about this. 75% of the falls can be seen from the Zimbabwean side, and 25% can be seen on the Zambian side. So people ask which side has the largest velocity in the falls. But truth be said, I believe that the larger falls are on the Zambian side. But in order to see them, you have to be on the Zimbabwean side to see the 75% of the falls. And the best time to come would be in June, July, when the rains have subsided and it's not so much velocity of the falls, because when they have so much velocity, this is the other reason why they were named Mosi-oa-Tunya, because they then form a smoke or a thick cloud, which we call the smoke that thunders, and that's what Mosi-oa-Tunya means. This picture is taken from an aerial view because there's the opportunity to take a helicopter ride. And also this is another picture that will just give you an overview. The Victoria Falls, as you can see, is forming from a river that is flowing, and that river that is flowing there is called the Zambezi River. This is the 4th largest river in Africa, and then it cascades down here and forms the majestic Victoria Falls. So in terms of the location, as I was describing, you see there are 2 neighboring countries, Zambia and Zimbabwe, and these 2 countries are forming, they have the border, the shared border of the Victoria Falls. So we also share another border, which is with Zambia, which is the Kariba Dam, which is the 2nd largest man-made dam in the world. There's a lot in common between Zimbabwe and Zambia. If it were for you to, if you would travel to the place, I think it's up to you to decide whether you will stay on the Zimbabwean side or on the Zambian side, which will all be very eventful and truly worthwhile. We are also looking at the possibility of going to Botswana, because you see as well on the left side that Zimbabwe is sharing the border with Botswana, and there is a national park there, which we call the Chobe National Park. So you could plan as well a day trip to Botswana and see the animals there and come back. I will also elaborate on this further. This is now the map of Africa, just to give you an idea of the location of Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is that teapot-shaped country in a beige color. And you can see the Atlantic Ocean and the Indian Ocean as well. So how do you actually get here? There are several options. It depends on the preference, it depends on the budget, it depends on the time frames that you have, because some people may be traveling throughout Southern Africa. Some people may just have a 10-day vacation and they want to spend a bit between the countries, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and Zambia. And also the budget, which is very important to consider. So you could travel by air, and if you travel by air, you will land either at the Victoria Falls International Airport, which is the 2nd largest airport in the country. It has many direct flights from several countries. You can use either Skyscanner or Momondo to check that out. Or you could land in Harare and then travel a bit in the other parts of the countries, and thereafter take a bus or a train to the Victoria Falls. If you are to take a bus, it will take a very long time because it's about 800 kilometers away. I have put here a picture of the public transport system that mostly locals use. We call this a combi. I know in South Africa, they call it a taxi, and Kenya, they call it matatu. So there's also an opportunity if you want to experience typical African life to board onto this. There's no pre-booking needed. It's a typical African experience, and this is what the locals do every day. It helps us move from point A to point B at an affordable price. You could also take the train, which will, it's very good because the train will take you from Bulawayo up until the Victoria Falls. And in this train ride, you pass through 2 national parks. So there's a possibility to see some animals in the very early morning. You can see an elephant passing by. And it's a nice experience on this train, which is also very safe. Then another option, you could also board the bus from Harare to Victoria Falls. And this is also a very long journey, but depending on the bus that you take, it can be a very comfortable journey. Then, of course, you can fly into the Victoria Falls International Airport directly, and you can also go back to the Victoria Falls International Airport. I just want to make it clear that there are many ways to get to the Victoria Falls depending on your preferences. And when you get there, this is probably the first thing that you're going to say. As I said before, we have a strong culture of dance, and the theme of dance flows throughout our identity. So as you arrive at the international airport, you are probably going to find these lovely dancers there. I will just play the video for you. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to post that. So this is the kind of welcome that you will get, and it will immediately put a smile on your face. If you are exhausted, of course, if you had a long flight, you can just swiftly go past them. But if you are energetic and you do like music, as you heard in the video, they sing in the tribal language, Ndebele, and they also sing in English. Very charming performances while they wear their cultural regalia. So if you appreciate what they do, you can also see that they have a little plate or a bowl in the front where you can also leave a tip of appreciation for them. But it's such a good welcome and so authentic of the Victoria Falls welcome. It's a resort town and everything there is just so welcoming and so warm to accommodate the needs of the tourists. As we move along, we will find someone waiting for us from either the tour company that we are working with or the hotel accommodation. Like in this picture, there is a lovely gentleman waiting with a big smile, typical Zimbabwean big smile, and a nice little minibus to take the tourists, to take you guys to your accommodation. So I hope you guys are just visualizing this. I hope everyone is visualizing this. You're visualizing this nice warm welcome and you're entering this bus to your accommodation. The other alternative is to get a taxi for yourself from the airport, which is also available. Maybe some tip is always to negotiate the price of the taxi. We don't have an Uber service or Taxify. So, but there are metered taxis that you can actually get from there. And if you are traveling to other parts of the country, like in Harare, we have a version of Uber that we call Owafaya. So you can also download that app and you'll be able to request your taxi online and pay online. An important thing before leaving the airport is maybe to get a local SIM card before getting onto the bus. If you don't manage to get a local SIM card, most of the hotels and guest houses and Airbnbs have Wi-Fi. So as well, you'll be able to connect with your family and let them know that you arrived safely and you have been welcomed well. As you arrive, there's something amazing that you will see. This city is full of wildlife. I remember when I first traveled abroad, because I come from the capital city, Harare, and Harare is not like the Victoria Falls. So when I was in the United States and people would ask me, did the zebra walk you to the airport, or do you have a pet lion or a pet giraffe? I found that very ridiculous, you know, but after going to the Victoria Falls, I realized that this is very possible. Humans and animals live together. Like these warthogs, you will definitely find them at the bank, at the restaurant. They're just moving around everywhere around the city. They don't run away from you. They'll be your friends. There are squirrels that will be moving around in the city. Sometimes there will be a traffic jam that will be caused by a herd of lions or buffaloes crossing. And this is why it's also advised that you go indoors early, because then the cats are also now awake, the likes of the lions and the cheetahs. That's the time that they are awake. So it's advised to be staying in either a fenced area or closed area at that time. And also the hippo, which is the most dangerous animal in Zimbabwe, will also be moving away from the waterfall to graze, so it becomes a bit challenging. But during the day, we have these friendly animals that are moving around, and they are all welcoming you and watching you as you arrive. Particularly the baboons and the monkeys. I know that at first it can be a bit surprising and also a bit scary, particularly with the baboons, because they want to sometimes get some food from you, or if you're walking around with a bag of chips, at times they can attempt to take it from you, or more so if you have bananas. But as the locals, we have learned to coexist with these animals and always to have confidence as you walk past them. They normally attack children and women, not attack, but they like to intimidate women and children compared to men. But once you stand your ground, this will be okay. So as we are driving past the airport, imagine we are coming across all these animals right in the city center on our way to our accommodation. So already this tells you that this is a different place, and there are certain things that you have now to be attentive and careful about. The first thing is making sure that when you leave your hotel room, you have closed the windows, because if you leave them open, these baboons are going to enter. I had various experiences where the baboon entered my room actually, and I had a bag of a crate of eggs, and the fridge was closed, but I discovered that the baboon can actually also open the fridge. And it took some honey, it ate the eggs, messed up everything, and smeared all over the apartment. So definitely when you come to the Victoria Falls, be wary of that and make sure that everything is closed, right? Let's move on and see what else we'll meet along the way. Along the way, we will also meet the impala. And I call the impala the McDonald's of Zimbabwe. The reason being, you can see they have an M sign at the back. So, and also they are fast food for all the other animals. And you find them very easily. They're very curious and they do not stay more than 6 meters away from the waterfall. So the Zambezi River being there, you're going to find that the impalas are going to be so much around you, and you're going to see them more often than not. And do remember, we call them the McDonald's. Actually, we don't have the franchise of McDonald's in Zimbabwe, but of course we have this McDonald's right here. As you drive towards your accommodation, if you are using the Zambezi Road, we are going to pass by the big tree. And this tree is more than 1,500 years old. It is a baobab tree, and in our native language, we call it the muoyo tree. So some people also call it the upside down tree, because as you can see, the branches look like it's the roots that are upside down. You can't really see by just looking at it how big in size it is, but here is a picture from the time of David Livingstone, the Scottish explorer that I explained about earlier. It shows the big tree has been there since. As you can also see here, the big tree is between a width of 18 meters and a height of 23 meters. Definitely be sure to visit the big tree. And even if you're not intentionally trying to visit the big tree, you will definitely pass by it on the way to the falls or on the way around the city. Other people, well, I call them people, but they're actually animals. The other animals that will be waiting for you along the way include the warthogs and their friends. I will just play a video for you here. Right. So we are still on our way to our accommodation and all this has happened, but where are we going to stay eventually? We are also going to pass by the steam train on the way to the accommodation. So there are several options on where we can stay. This here is the Victoria Falls Hotel, which is a 5-star hotel. It's very beautiful. A lot of famous people have stayed here. The likes of Paris Hilton recently, Michael Jackson, and it has this beautiful view where you can see the gorge and the lovely garden as well. The smoke that we can actually see in this picture is the smoke from the Victoria Falls. Remember, I said that the Victoria Falls is the smoke that thunders, right? And the smoke can be seen from very far away, including the accommodations. One other thing as well that I cannot translate in this video is at any point, wherever you stay around the Victoria Falls at night, when everything is silent, you will hear the falls roaring. And this is such a beautiful sound. It's so soothing and so exceptional and typical of the Victoria Falls. So you could also choose to stay in a safari accommodation. This can range from camping or to just leaving your van, or it can also be quite luxurious glamping. The other option is also to stay in a very tropical accommodation like this one, which is Ilala Lodge. You can also have a look at that. It's a very beautiful lodge. But today I'm going to pick for us to stay at the Victoria Falls Safari Club. And this is a very beautiful, authentic African style resort. One of the reasons why it's very nice, it has a deck that overlooks the safari. And so while you're having your lunch, you can actually be seeing animals coming to the watering hole. Right, and that is very nice. So I'm going to leave, suppose you were here, I would then leave you guys to rest a little bit before we go in the evening for the sunset cruise. The sunset cruise is such a beautiful experience. It's either we would take the sunrise cruise or the sunset cruise. And as well, there are several options that we can take today for this cruise. That either, but of course now that there's COVID, we have to observe COVID protocol, that is social distancing, that is also wearing our masks all the time. And all travelers traveling into the Victoria Falls or into Zimbabwe have to produce a COVID certificate that is not older than 72 hours. And you should also have your COVID vaccines. The Victoria Falls has reached per head immunity. I'm happy to announce that most of the staff here in the Victoria Falls are actually immunized, got their vaccination from COVID-19. So that makes it really a safe place after reaching per head immunity. We took this upon ourselves and we took it very seriously to get the vaccination for the safety of ourselves as well as the guests that we receive here. So if we are going to take this the sunset cruise, this now we have to be very careful about this because it gets very interesting, and you'll find out why. This is just a picture of me on one of the sunset cruises. As you can see, that beautiful sundowner. While imagine yourself while having a nice red wine or whatever you drink. Of course, the refreshments and some snacks are served on this nice sunset a cruise, which takes about 2 hours. And it is in Victoria Falls, it is not without friends. As you can see, so many things can happen on this sunset cruise. We can have, we can see elephants going on a dip. One thing that stands out is we need passports to visit the Victoria Falls, but the animals don't need passports to go between Zimbabwe, Zambia, and Botswana, which share the border. So perhaps this could be a Zambian elephant on the Zimbabwean side, or perhaps it could be a Botswanan elephant crossing over. And if it does happen that this elephant makes it across, then obviously it will be on the Zambian side. There are no fences around these 3 national parks of these 3 countries. Also of interest is that around the falls, I will explain further, the elephants were also being quite naughty, and they've been known to fall off the cliff. So it has been fenced off as well. Now I'm going to play a little video of an experience I had on the sunset cruise. Yes, Zimbabwe has a large population of elephants. And that being said, that we have a large population of elephants, we do know that elephants are grazing or are eating for 18 hours a day, and they're only resting for about 6 hours a day because the elephants have a very poor metabolism rate. This makes it very difficult if the country has a large population of elephants, because they are going to be destroying a lot of the trees and the more vegetation than we have. But we have what now we call the National Tree Planting Day, which is in December, where every person that lives in the country is required to plant a tree, apart from, of course, discouraging deforestation in light of climate change and soil erosion. As we continue on our sunset cruise, we will also come across the hippos. The hippo is such a beautiful animal. It is only spending about 6 minutes underwater, and then afterwards it is coming out to take breath. So as you are on the cruise, you shall see them picking up their heads to take the breath like this. This is the place where I've seen the most hippos in my life and in my experience as a tour guide. So I call it Hippo Land. If you love hippos, then you will be on the lookout of this, and you will spot so many hippos, from the mummies and the babies to the whole clan of them. But remember to also be careful not to move around the banks of the falls, and pay attention to the signages, because there are a lot of crocodiles, Nile crocodile being one of the crocodiles to be wary of. There are also to be careful for the hippos, as they will also move away from the waterfall to graze at night. But from the safari cruise, this is actually really outstanding, such a relaxed and luxurious experience to have while watching the sunset or the sunrise. And in our case, in this particular tour, we are seeing it at sunset. I will also play a new video here. So this is now day 2 of your experience with me here at the Victoria Falls. And today I'm going to take you on a helicopter ride over the Victoria Falls. And this is going to be very interesting because, well, the Victoria Falls, even though we can see them from the ground, it is hard to fathom the sheer velocity or the size of them. So once again, I will share a video of when I took a helicopter ride, not as a guide in this instance, but as a tourist over the Victoria Falls. And I absolutely enjoyed myself. I hope you can learn and see something from this video.
The lion sleeps tonight.
You do some circular orbits, one and after left, one and after.
Zambezi, one of Africa's great rivers, flows widely over basalt rock and through Kalahari sands. Nearly halfway along its epic journey from source to sea, the river is broad and wide. Annual rains bring life to the dry bush and swell the river. The Deepwater Channel marks the border between Zimbabwe to the south and Zambia to the north. Islands scatter the surface, offering safe sanctuaries for the wealth of wildlife that live along its margins. Suddenly, without warning, the Zambezi disappears. Its waters swallowed up into the depths of the Victoria Falls. Clouds of billowing spray are forced upwards, rising up to 900 meters into the air before falling as rain. Nearly 2 kilometers wide, the falls form the widest and largest sheet of falling water in the world. At the western end, the statue of David Livingstone overlooks the Devil's Cataract with a 62-meter cascade onto the rocks below. Cataract Island is the first of 2 islands which break the line of the falls. It is followed by the main falls, one of the most picturesque sections of the waterfall, and which carries a substantial volume of water all year round. Next is Livingstone Island, named after the missionary and explorer, and it was here that he first saw them in 1855, describing it as the most wonderful sight I had witnessed in Africa. From Livingstone Island to the Eastern Cataract runs the longest stretch of unbroken fall line. It is along this section that the falls are at their deepest, plummeting 108 meters. During the low water season, they become almost completely dry of water, exposing the bare rock of the gorge. At high water, huge volumes of water tumble into the void. Opposite, the river escapes downstream through a narrow gap, rushing into the boiling pot and on under the Victoria Falls Bridge. It was Cecil Rhodes who dreamt of a bridge across the Zambezi where the trains as they pass will catch the spray of the falls. Opened in 1905, the bridge was hailed as a man-made engineering wonder to rival the natural beauty of the falls themselves. Today, the bridge is one of the region's most famous landmarks and surely one of the most spectacular locations to bungee jump. Below the bridge, the river races on through the Batoka Gorge. Its waters trapped within the narrow walls of rock which run for some 120 kilometers downstream. Overlooking the gorge is the historic Victoria Falls Hotel, one of the first buildings on the south side of the river and the beginnings of the small tourist town of Victoria Falls.
Everyone see them?
Ladies and gentlemen, we are now approaching the helipad. Let me again take this opportunity to thank you very much for flying with us and enjoy the rest of your holiday.
Yes, so that of course was my experience taking the helicopter ride for the first time. I've since taken it several times, and I think you guys saw my face light up because it's so beautiful when you're up there. We don't understand the extent or how majestic and beautiful the Victoria Falls is from the ground. That's why it's so important to take this helicopter ride. It is also offered at a very affordable fee, so that could be something that I could recommend. So we have just enjoyed our helicopter ride. We have seen it from above, some amazing feelings, a new understanding of the falls. Now it's evening time and we will go and enjoy the Boma. The Boma is a drum beating session traditional drum beating session once again with lots of dance, as it is our culture to dance. You will learn how to beat drums. There will be an African fortune teller, or what we call a sangoma. They can also, if you're interested in them reading your palm or telling you your future, you can also consult them. There will be a lot of food, a buffet, an amazing buffet. So this is the evening entertainment, and just a way to round off a day in the Victoria Falls, and authentic again to the Victoria Falls experience. In this slide, I share some young children who are my friends, and on the side, I am also a TV presenter and producer. So I work with these kids as well, and they are really talented. And this is how most of the artists in Victoria Falls start. They start practicing dance and beating drums, playing traditional instruments as early as the age of 2. Unfortunately, for some of the members of this group that you see, they are unable to go to school because either they are orphaned or they have unfortunate circumstances of not being able to afford. So in order to support themselves and maybe their surviving relative, they perform on the streets for the tourists. Eventually they will form, when they're older, a bigger group, for example, and they will perform at the places like I've just mentioned, the Boma. So here we have a lively group, and this is at the Boma that I referred to, where the performance will be tonight. Let us enjoy the performance and have a feeling as if we were there. Right. So now we know what the Boma is about. In order to go there, you would have to book in advance because it gets really packed. But in light with the COVID regulations at the moment, they will only allow a limited number of people and on specific days as well. The drum is now shared by a limited number of people that belong on the same table, like the people that you came with, so that people are not touching the same drum or beating the same drum. But it's still very exciting, and be on the lookout for the Boma bus. Just watching the video myself, I got fairly excited. So at the end of the day, we are going to retire back to our hotel room and have a rest, whether you are staying in an Airbnb or you're camping, or you're in a guest house, or you are staying in one of the lodges. These are activities that you can participate in. It's also a good way to meet other people and other travelers and to interact with them. On day 3, we are doing what a lot of people love to do in Africa, and that is to go on a safari. So we are going to do the Chobe day trip, which is Chobe National Park in Botswana. So you're going to go to the neighboring country for a day trip. And there and on this trip, you will find we will find the big 5 animals. Here we have the buffalo, and it's such a wonderful experience because food will also be served. It's a good way to meet other travelers and a very comfortable and safe experience. Also here, I've added a picture of some lions as well. Remember, I said that in Victoria Falls, it being a city built in a game reserve, the lions actually live there as well. But regardless, there are very few incidences reported or recorded or known of people being attacked by lions, because the lions already have a lot to eat. One of my friends was the other day walking back from work. She works at Elephant Hills Hotel, and she came across a lion on 2 occasions, but she was not attacked in any way or form, and neither did the lion attempt to approach her. On the safari, during the safari, it is so difficult to spot the lion because, as you know, the African safari is is camouflage, is a great camouflage for the lion. And one of the reasons the lion is so great is it knows how to camouflage itself. Because if it didn't know, then it would catch the other animals would spot it, right? So it's so well camouflaged. And other thing that the lions are very popular for is laying low as soon as they see people or potential danger or another animal approaching. So you can be 5 yards or a meter away from a lion and not spot it, but this does not mean that the lion is not there. And one thing to know about a safari is that the seeing the animals is not guaranteed, because it's a very democratic government in the animal kingdom. The animals do what they want when they want, and there's not much the guides can do, but do bring a pair of binoculars and extra will to search for the animals. And this is also why we do the experience of going to Chobe National Park, which is the neighboring country, because the possibility of having spotted the animals by then is much higher. Though as well, the guides, we communicate with each other and tell each other where we saw the animals before, and also we are trained to know the footprints and read certain things so that you'll be able to get the experience that you need. But remember also that your tour guide will always be with a gun. All tour guides are trained on how to use a rifle. So should any animal try and attack you, they will protect you. Their preference, this is not, I don't know if it's a part to say that the human life is more important, but you will be safe. They are trained to protect you if the danger is imminent. the other animals that are very protective, of course, of their young ones is the elephants. And this one that we are looking at is a breeding head. The breeding head is the one made up of the mothers and the babies. And the elephants, the male elephants, move in what we call the bachelor head. And most of them, particularly when they're older, they move alone. So this breeding head is actually one of the most dangerous ones because of the maternal instinct that the elephant will be having to protect its young one. So be very careful with that. Do not move try and move close to them. Always follow the instruction of the tour guide. If you do encounter a lion, do not crouch down, because when you crouch, the lion will assume that you are a lesser being or less strength to it. So always maintain your height. And when you go on these safaris, do not wear dangling things, particularly also avoid the color red, as it might not go well with the buffaloes, and the lions as well may want to play with anything that may be dangling from your body. Of course, you must also remember that these animals migrate. So if you are to stay for a longer period, you will realize that you are no longer finding the elephants in the same routine or the same area you found them before, because they have migrated. The zebras, being herbivores, also will migrate in time. But if you are lucky, you will be able to see the big five. So that is it for the experience of the safari. It's always exceptional, and I always look forward to my safaris. There's on day 4 of our trip today. So say we started on a Monday, now to a Thursday, we are going to have the option of adrenaline activities. In the Victoria Falls, this is the adrenaline capital of Zimbabwe. There's so many activities, from bungee jumping, white water rafting, the zip line, firefox. These I haven't tried any of them because I am scared myself, but I have friends that have tried. And there's also this experience of the being at the edge of the pool, which is called the Devil's Pool. Obviously, this is insanely, I think, insanely dangerous, scary, but you're always with a trained guide with several years experience in this. And if this is something you like to do, you have to follow the instructions without reasonable question. And you have to also be alert and have this experience, which is like being at the edge of the Victoria Falls is once in a lifetime opportunity. Right. So as you can see here, you can also try and do white water rafting, which is also very fun. And this is the bridge where you can also do bungee jumping. In the afternoon, we will go to the Voucher restaurant. This restaurant has been operating for 22 years now. And most of the vouchers that you will find at this restaurant have been there since birth, or they were babies at the start of the restaurant. The reason why the Victoria Falls Safari Club had to start a voucher restaurant is because of the danger that the vouchers are in. The vouchers are the cleanup team of the safaris. If there's any carcass or dead animal, these guys are going to clean it up. And this then makes life very difficult as well for the vouchers, because they become the target of poachers. Because, for instance, poachers have just taken something, the ivory from an elephant. the vultures are going to act as an alarm, because the anti-poaching team is going to know about it when they see the vultures there. So it is now the poachers who are putting cyanide in the waterfalls to kill the vultures, and thus the vultures are becoming endangered. And when they try and poison the vultures, they are also when they also poison the elephants, the vultures are also dying, because the vultures then eat the elephants. So they started this vulture restaurant, which is at the Victoria Falls Safari Club, as an educational club or hub where you can learn about the dangers and the importance of the vultures, which are the clean-up team. So while sitting at the deck of the Victoria Falls Safari Club, you will be able to see the vultures eating. They bring a bit of food for them, which is left over from the Boma. If you still remember, the Boma is that evening drum beating session, and there was a lot of food there, wasn't there? Like a lot of food. So if anything is left over, whether it be beef, pork chops, or chicken, it will be fed to the vultures. And this is not for the vultures to, this does not discourage the vultures from eventually going into their adventures of eating the carcasses, but it's just a small portion, an appetizer, and also to help them to just survive. And the feeding is done so close so that you will be seeing these vultures in close range like this. So if you're a bird lover, this is also something that is nice to do. The vultures are not in captivity. They fly off afterwards, and they know the timetable, which is normally around 1 p.m. every day. So you start to see them hovering over the sky. The guide at the Victoria Falls Safari Club is normally Moses and Zulu, and the one in the picture here is my dear friend Zulu, just throwing some carcasses to the waiting vultures. There are also some marabou stocks that come as well, enjoy the vulture feeding, but they are not in this picture. But definitely this is a good activity for conservation lovers, for bird enthusiasts. And when these vultures leave some food or some tiny bits, in the evening around 6 p.m. the hyenas will come and clean up everything. So we call it the self-cleaning restaurant, because not even a speck will be left in this restaurant, as the hyenas then come in the evening and finish off whatever was left by the vultures. After a few minutes of doing the vulture feeding, we can go back to the top deck and have something to drink. On day 5, we would like to move away from the touristic resort and go to the villages where we can experience the authentic life and experience of the locals. Because in as much as the resort itself is very beautiful, there's still local life. And in this experience, we get to meet the warmth and the authenticity of the culture and the heritage, where people, the locals, survive by fishing in the gorges of the Victoria Falls. And it's not so much of a farming community, because if they do try and farm, there is human-wildlife conflict. If they try and rear some sheep, goats, and cows, the lions, the cats will come and eat these animals, right? These domestic animals. So that's human-wildlife conflict experience. If they do grow some maize, also known as corn, or some vegetables, or some kind of fruit, the baboons who are known to also come and eat that. and the elephants are also known to come and eat that. So it makes life very difficult for the locals that live in this area. So unless, say, for example, you get a job working in the Victoria Falls resort, then you have to tend to do something else. And in the past, or in other areas, it's subsistence farming. But in the Victoria Falls area, it becomes difficult. So they rely on fishing as the activity. So if we do this activity, we meet the locals, we speak to them. They're very welcoming, as we explained earlier. They'll welcome us into their homes and you'll experience that. We will also get the opportunity to try local food. In this picture, you can see the white stuff. That is what we call sadza, and that is the staple food here. It is made from maize or corn, white corn, and it is served with a delicacy which we call mopani worms. It's a caterpillar, and it's also fried with some tomato, very high in protein. So there's a possibility of trying out these local dishes when you go and visit the local community. Yeah, one other thing about I was explaining about sadza, I'll just give the other names in case you might know it. If you've been to Kenya, it's called ugali. If you've been to South Africa, Namibia, they refer to it as pap. And it is a form of polenta, but only finer grain than polenta. And these are the closer picture of the mopani worms with some chilies and some cream sauce on it. So this is also a good experience to experience and join the locals. Moving on, we would then perhaps in the evening go back to the accommodation and eat at the Lookout Cafe. Lookout Cafe is a very important and phenomenal activity because you are eating over the gorge, the Batoka Lookout Cafe over the Batoka Gorge. This is a very beautiful lookout cafe with a variety of international cuisines which you can pick from and just enjoy the evening. And this is the view that you will be having as you have your food in the evening. Definitely, it's important to visit the Lookout Cafe. Now I will just share with you some facts on some fun facts or roundup of the things, some of the things we discussed. Okay, so over a minute, every minute over 5 million cubic meters of water pour over the falls, right? And because it's a rainforest, it rains 24/7 days a week. But the contrast is that in the Victoria Falls city, inside the falls is a rainforest, but outside the falls is a savanna. So that's where you would do the safari, and it's such an interesting contrast. Remember, we said that the first European to discover the falls was David Livingstone, and this was in 1855. And it is only on the Zimbabwean side that you get to see the rainforest. Remember, it is at the border of Zimbabwe and Zambia. On the Zambian side, there is no rainforest. If you are there when there's a full moon, also recommend that you go into the falls at night, because then you will see the lunar rainbow, which is also very spectacular. Shongwe, as I explained earlier, means the place of the rainbow, and there are several rainbows in the falls all throughout the day, and this also continues at night. It's also important to plan which time of the year you are coming to visit the Victoria Falls, because the flow of the Zambezi table water changes depending on whether it has just rained and so forth. Thank you very much, Mariah. I will hand over to you, and I will be answering any questions that the people will have.